Hey everyone, Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassiny here from the Institute of Digital Dentistry, and it's been a busy 2025. Today we're reviewing the Shining 3D Aoralscan Elite Wireless. Now, the Wired Elite made waves in late 2024 as the world's first intraoral scanner with built-in photogrammetry capabilities. It was bold, innovative, and frankly one of the best scanner releases of the year. I don't think anyone argues with that. The question wasn't whether a wireless version would be good. We already knew that the Elite scanning architecture was excellent. We knew that IPG technology worked. I've done it for countless cases. But whether the company could successfully transition the disruptive system to wireless without compromise. Now, after extensively testing the Elite Wireless for months in my practice alongside the original Wired Elite, I can say that Shining 3D has not only successfully transitioned to wireless, but has also improved some aspects of the scanner in the process, and that's really interesting. So let's face it, the Wired Elite was already disrupting the full arch implant market with its coded Scanbody IPG system. Now, cutting the cord and also making it one of the lightest weight wireless scanners available, that's a compelling proposition for anyone doing all-on-X work. It does come with some design quirks, however, and some things that you need to consider. So let's get into it. Alright, so before we dive into the Wireless Elite specifically, we need to talk about how aggressive Shining 3D is being right now. When I first reviewed their original Aoralscan back in 2019, it was frankly bad. Clunky software, basic performance. It was genuinely hard to imagine them competing with established players at the time like Trios. Fast forward to 2024 and they released the Elite with IPG. And that scanner changed the conversation completely around full arch implant workflows and really positioned Shining 3D as an innovation leader rather than just a budget alternative. It's fascinating how fast that changed. Now, less than a year later, they have released the Elite Wireless, and they didn't just stop there. They just recently launched the Aoralscan Elf at $12,000 USD. Same Elite architecture. It is basically an Elite without IPG and weighs just 106 grams. That's 3 scanners in just over a year. The Elite, Elite Wireless, and Elf, creating a complete product lineup from entry level to premium. This is aggressive product development and it's no doubt putting pressure on established brands. So back to the Elite Wireless. This is essentially a wireless version of the original Elite, but it represents a thoughtful evolution. It weighs 194 grams in total. Basically, it's one of the most lightweight, if not the lightest weight wireless scanner on the market. And the batteries are decent in this wireless scanner. The company says you get 2 hours of continuous scanning time or 12 hours in sleep mode. And a full charge time is about 2.5 hours using this charging case or 4 hours on the charging cradle. So this cradle itself charges the batteries. And the scanner uses Wi-Fi 6 technology, which is fast and stable. The most obvious change to me is the shift from the metal body of the original Elite to this plastic or polymer construction seen in most scanners. Now, it is decent. It doesn't feel like cheap plastic, but it's definitely a slight downgrade maybe to the metal. I initially felt that way. However, the polymer design does bring some practical advantages. For context, the Meta i700 wireless weighs 328 grams, Trios 5 weighs 299 grams, and most other wireless scanners weigh between 250 and 350 grams. The 70-gram weight increase from the original Elite, 124 grams, is minimal, resulting in a wireless scanner that actually feels lighter than almost every competitor, wireless or not. It's quite amazing how they achieve this. The plastic construction also solves a practical problem with the original Elite. That was the metallic body, and to be honest, it was prone to scratches. After a year of clinical use in my practice, there's visible scratches on my Elite, and there's no screen protectors for a scanner yet, so they do get a bit scratched up and damaged, whereas this kind of plastic model eliminates this issue while maintaining, like I say, decent quality feel. I mean, it's definitely not a cheap feeling plastic, but it's certainly not quite as premium as the metal on the Elite. Another interesting choice by the company is a lack of a dummy battery. This is wireless only, and this is a common trend in the market now. The other thing is that the Wi-Fi dongle itself is built into the charging cradle, which honestly the cradle does look premium and it looks nice when it's in there. So there's no extra dongles or TP-Link devices. It does mean that the cradle has to be plugged into your computer at all times for use. So you must have the cradle plugged into your laptop via USB-C to USB-C. However, the battery system of the Wireless Elite does reveal some cost-saving measures that I feel affect the premium feel. So to start, the Wireless Elite, and it's hard to kind of get this off, it's a lot of pulling. If I can get it, there you go. The Wireless Elite utilizes these universal batteries, and this is common in a lot of Chinese intraoral scanners rather than a custom designed battery. So I do feel this is a little bit cheaper feeling, and it does mean it's not as simple as swapping out the batteries as quickly as some other wireless models, that just pull in and pull out. But it works, I guess, and you can even see the plastic. You have to make sure it's right in the right direction before getting it in. It's one of those things. I feel like the battery system could have been a little bit better, but it is what it is. The other thing is that the battery charger itself is a little bit of a minor grievance. So apart from charging the battery on the cradle, this is the charging case they give you for a spare battery. And again, it feels a little bit rushed. So this is also a lot of pulling. And unlike some other elegant battery chargers that, you put the batteries in and it charges up, you get this tubular charging case and it has no stand or base. It just sits there, one universal battery inside, and it just sits there on your desk. So it works, but the presentation I feel feels a little bit less refined than the rest of the system. I mean, the cradle looks really nice, and in their defense, arguably you shouldn't need this because anytime the scanner is on this cradle, it is charging the battery. That aside, the Elite Wireless maintains excellent scanning performance across basically every indication, both standard and IPG photogrammetry. It's what we really come to expect from the company now. Full arch scans are fast, matching industry-leading scanners. The wireless implementation, I didn't find, introduces any penalties to scanning speed. I couldn't really detect any meaningful difference in responsiveness between wired and wireless models. There is, of course, the connection at the start. When you start the software, you do need to connect the software wirelessly to the laptop, so maybe slightly slower than just plugging in a wired scanner and getting going. Now, there is a little quirk, and I don't know if it's just me, guys, but when I'm scanning with the Elite or Elite Wireless, I do feel the software feels a little bit behind me or slower than how fast my hand is moving. It's really hard to explain. As I'm moving across the arch, it's almost like the processing is a little slower, or it's hard to say, but definitely I move my hand and I feel like the software is slightly behind where my hand is going. Now, it's not immediately obvious, to be honest, and new users probably will never know. But if you've used other scanners, you'll notice a slight difference. I don't know if it's just me, but it's something I notice all the time with the Elite versions. I've mentioned it to the company. That aside, like the original Elite, the wireless version also has two distinct modes: standard scanning for routine cases and IPG photogrammetry for full arch implant cases, using, of course, coded scan bodies. Now, I would say in a single scanner software, this is one of the best, if not the best, workflow for full arch scanning implants. It just does everything end to end, from scanning to alignment to digital transfer of the horizontal scan body to a scan body your lab can use. Everything is done really nice on the software. The scanner also handles other clinical indications with ease, as mentioned: single crowns, bridges, implant restorations, orthodontic cases, edentulous scanning, etc. What we really expect from a modern scanner these days. One area I do feel can improve is the scan texture resolution. And I have to say they're not bad, because the Elite produces these photorealistic scans after post-processing, and they do look nice. But if you do zoom in, they do look lower resolution, lack some details compared to other premium scanners like Trios, iTerra Lumina, or Medit i900. Now let me be clear, for clinical accuracy, it's not impacting things at all. But for those who may be comparing scanners and trying to see the difference, it's worth noting. Once again, it is an accurate scanner. Now the Elite Wireless uses the same 3-size tip system as the original Elite. They have an IPG scanner tip at 19mm by 14mm, one of the largest FOVs on the market, a standard scanner tip at 16mm by 12mm, and a mini scanner tip. Each tip can withstand 100 autoclave cycles, and replacement tips cost approximately $50 USD each, so about 50 cents per patient scan. I personally just use the large tip for everything when I can. I find larger scanner tips are the fastest and most efficient, and the only reason I wouldn't use this tip is if I find it hard to fit in the mouth. The other thing that's improved with the Elite scanners in general compared to the previous generation Shining 3D scanners is the improved heating system. Because there's virtually little or no preheating time required, it is much better than the Aoralscan 3 series. And like I say, it is just a welcomed improvement, because I hate waiting for scanners to heat up. The Elite Wireless also maintains the same calibration requirements as the original Elite. So the calibration cycle is still every 2 weeks, and I have to say the process takes relatively a long time in terms of calibration, about 2 to 3 minutes. I might be being fussy, but I feel like this is an area that could improve, because these days with modern scanners, calibration free is becoming the norm. We are seeing it across the board. Not every scanner, because some new scanners are not calibration free, but it is definitely the future of scanning. And I hope future Aoralscan generations will eliminate this requirement for calibration. However, in saying that, for complex implant cases with this IPG kit, I would say the ability to verify your scanner accuracy through regular calibration does provide some reassurance, so I guess the company will be the judge of that. The Elite Wireless also maintains the revolutionary IPG PhotoGrammetry workflow, while introducing some meaningful improvements since the days I reviewed the original Elite. So since those days, which was about a year ago, we now have a brand new kit and Cap Scanbodies. And as mentioned, the cassette is just significantly nicer than the original. I mean, everything looks really good, and the single kit gives you basically everything you need. A bunch of scan bodies and a whole bunch of caps. And so to me, it's almost like the proof of concept obviously worked with incredible success with the IPG, and now they're refining, which is nice to see. So some of you may be wondering, what do these Cap Scanbodies do? And they are a significant addition. What these do is they address immediate loading scenarios where blood and saliva can complicate tissue implant alignment. And so what these do is they attach to your MUA when you're scanning the edentulous tissues, and they provide a stable position within the surrounding soft tissue. So despite the enhanced kit and general presentation, which is significantly improved, the fundamental photogrammetry technology remains unchanged, which is exactly what you want. Personally, in our testing here at IDD, the system consistently achieves sub-30 micron accuracy in full arch implant cases. It is very effective when performed properly, but I have to stress that, performed properly. Unlike photogrammetry traditionally, where it's almost black and white if you've captured the data. If anyone's used photogrammetry, you know what I mean. You can't export the files unless everything is perfect on the software side. Whereas with these horizontal scan body systems, you are still reliant on the operator to scan properly and do it correctly. For example, a simple fact is attaching the MUAs correctly and making sure they're not impinged by bone or tissue. So training is required, but I will say it is nowhere near as steep of a learning curve as using traditional photogrammetry devices, nor as costly. So nearly after a year of the original Elite launch, it's clear that this technology has disrupted photogrammetry. And I would say it's actually disrupted the entire full arch implant scanning market because other companies are scrambling to respond. We saw some strong responses. Meta released SmartX for horizontal scan bodies, and 3Shape announced true abutment partnerships, which are nice. But a lot of scanners now on the market don't have a horizontal scan body workflow. So we are getting into a market where you either have this workflow or you don't. And the Elite's approach of in-house coded scan bodies with specialized algorithms remains unique in the market. They are the only scanner manufacturer that also makes their own horizontal scan bodies. Once again, since the original Elite review that I did in December 2024, Shining 3D has continued aggressive software development. The Elite Wireless ships with the latest software version, and this software is getting to be close as good as Medit, and they are basically the market leader. So it incorporates numerous improvements. The software maintains comprehensive workflows for basically every clinical indication you could want, from single crowns to complete dentures. And again, the denture workflow option within scanner software is something that is still uncommon in the entire intraoral scanner market. Shining 3D is also one of the few scanners that still supports Mac OS, though I have to say, when I used it, I did feel it's a lot less optimized than the Windows version. I found it a little laggy, a bit buggy, but maybe that was just me. The Shining 3D application suite has also continued to expand, maintaining Shining 3D's position as offering one of the most comprehensive software packages among any intraoral scanner company. As of 2025, or the end of 2025, the Elite Wireless ships with 9 distinct applications, spanning patient communication, analysis, design workflows. While individual tools may not match the polish of premium software from established players like 3Shape, I have to say that the wide range of functionality included at no extra cost does provide significant value for these scanners. For example, Console Report is a valuable tool for patient education. The AI automatically generates comprehensive oral health reports, and this is something that's becoming more and more common in the scanner market. Console OS is the company's orthodontic simulator, automatically segmenting teeth and predicting tooth movement patterns. And one standout feature of this is the integration with the MetiSmile facial scanner. Metron Track allows you to track changes in the dentition over time, particularly valuable for monitoring tooth wear, orthodontic progress, or even periodontal disease changes. And then you have the creator applications, which represent Shining 3D's venture into CAD territory. You have things like AccuDesign, which is the model builder, Cree Splint, which offers streamlined night guard and splint design, Cree Retainer, which provides dedicated retainer designs, and Cree Temp, which handles crown design. Lastly, you also have Cree IBT, which handles indirect bonding trays, and AccuWare serves as the bridge between design and manufacturing for Shining 3D's AccuFab 3D printers. Now, when I use these apps, the general vibe across all these applications is it emphasizes automation and efficiency over extensive customization. And all these apps are for free. So for practices seeking to explore in-house workflows without significant software investments, this comprehensive suite offers a genuine pathway into digital manufacturing. Just be aware that there is a lot of loading screens in my experience, as a lot of this is AI driven. And don't think this is going to be as good as ExoCAD and proper design CAD software, because really these apps are just made for chairside use. And I would say they're a little simple and the results are not 100% perfect, but it's nice to have in a scanning software. So what is the cost of all of this? Well, the Elite Wireless enters the market at $22,000 USD. This represents a $2,000 premium over the wired Elite, and this positions it well into the premium scanner segment. Notably less expensive than Treos 5 or 6, but slightly more expensive than the Medit i900 Mobility. Now, when you factor in the elimination of a separate photogrammetry unit, which may cost you $15,000 to $30,000, the math becomes a lot more favorable because the Elite Wireless comes with a free IPG kit, and this has been the standout feature of the Elite scanners. Now the question becomes, is the extra $2,000 worth it for wireless? And that really comes down to your preferences. Because as it stands now with the Elite range, we have the Aoralscan Alpha at $12,000, and this is entry level without IPG. Aoralscan Elite at $18,000, this is the wired Elite with IPG, and Aoralscan Elite Wireless at $22,000, the wireless Elite with IPG. The consumable costs remain reasonable. The scanner tips, as I mentioned, cost around $50 USD each with 100 autoclave cycles, and the enhanced IPG kit represents probably the more significant ongoing investment. So replacement coated scan body kits cost $2,250 USD, though the company does say that it can be autoclaved up to 300 times. I have to say it is cheaper than the True Abutment IO Connect, but that kit can be used with any scanner. In contrast, the IPG system is Elite only. Now, one critical thing is make sure you follow the cleaning instructions of the IPG kit correctly, because if you clean these with the wrong solvents, the little dots on the scan body lose their shine, and this basically makes them useless and unreadable by the scanner. Ask me how I know. I did that to a whole kit. So thankfully, Shining 3D does allow you to buy individual replacements rather than whole kits, which is a nice move. But still, if you end up damaging a kit, it can cost you quite a lot of money to replace. Shining 3D also maintains its subscription-free approach with the Elite Wireless, and currently there are no mandatory yearly fees for scanner operation or software access. Cloud storage also remains free, though I don't know how long this will stay free. I mean, I haven't heard of anything from the company, don't worry. But if I were to look at the market trends, most companies start with free cloud storage and then start to charge for it, but we'll see what the future holds. Overall, the Shining 3D Aoralscan Elite Wireless represents a successful evolution of an already groundbreaking scanner. At 194 grams, as mentioned, it's one of the lightest wireless scanners on the market. Let me change that. It's one of the lightest scanners on the market, even compared to a lot of wired competitors. And this is a remarkable achievement considering the battery and all the technology packed into the device. The scanner works well, it scans well, and the enhanced IPG kit that looks a lot better and features Cap Scanbodies, an improved cassette, etc., adds genuine value, particularly for immediate loading protocols. I feel like the main downsides really with this scanner is the batteries and the battery charging case. I feel like this could be improved. It's just not as premium as the rest of the scanner. But let's face it, the full arch implant workflow market needed disruption. Traditional photogrammetry units were very expensive, cumbersome, and the cost frankly locked a lot of people out from doing full arch workflows in their practice. Shining 3D with their Elite workflow eliminates all of that complexity while delivering accuracy that matches or exceeds traditional methods in our testing. At $22,000 USD, the Elite Wireless positions itself competitively, offering all-on-X capabilities that, frankly, no other scanner can match without horizontal scan bodies from third-party companies. For practices that are performing a lot of regular full arch work, the value proposition is compelling, and this is why Elite did so well in the past 2 years. Of course, the only decision you need to make is whether you pay the premium for wireless. Otherwise, the wired Elite is still great. Shining 3D's journey from the overheating, weird original Aoralscan to Elite and Elite Wireless in just 6 years is remarkable. They've gone from being a budget option, struggling with the basics of scanning, to an innovation leader, introducing technology that other companies had to match. And with the recent release of the Shining 3D Aoralscan Alpha, this creates a complete 3-tier product lineup in just over a year. This company is showing no signs of slowing down. This is aggressive product development that's no doubt putting pressure on the entire intraoral scanner market. And mark my words, the traditional photogrammetry business is fundamentally disrupted thanks to Shining 3D. The Elite Wireless demonstrates that sophisticated full-arch implant scanning can be seamlessly integrated into an intraoral scanner without compromise or fears of inaccuracy. Other companies will follow, no doubt, but Shining 3D did it first. This wraps up my review of the Shining 3D Aoralscan Elite Wireless. If you want to read the full review, go to instituteofdigitaldentistry.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.